When we discuss the end of British rule in India, our focus usually lands on the famous figures at the top. We study the philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi or the military strategies of Subhash Chandra Bose. But the movement for independence was a massive collective effort. It was a tide of millions of people who rarely make it into the headlines of history. While the elite leaders negotiated, thousands of everyday citizens were performing the actual work of resistance on the ground, often at the cost of their lives. Many of their stories remain buried. To understand how the British Empire actually lost its grip, we have to look at the specific tactics ordinary people used to disrupt imperial control. India's freedom wasn't just signed into existence, it was won through thousands of individual, high-stakes acts of rebellion. By 1942, during the Quit India movement, the British administration used extreme force to suppress any public display of dissent. Carrying the national flag became a direct challenge to the police that often invited immediate gunfire. Matangini Hazra was 73 years old. Despite her age, she chose to lead a peaceful protest march directly toward the police line. Even as British officers opened fire and multiple bullets struck her, witnesses noted she never dropped the flag. She died while still chanting the slogan, Vande Mataram. In Assam, 17-year-old Kanaklata Barua led a similar procession toward a police station. She was warned to stop, but she continued to march with the flag in hand until she was shot and killed. In South India, a man named Tirupur Kumaran was beaten so severely during a protest that he eventually died from his injuries, but he reportedly held the flag upright throughout the entire assault. By refusing to let the flag touch the ground, even at the moment of death, these citizens turned a simple piece of cloth into a powerful psychological tool that demonstrated the limit of the empire's physical control. Other forms of resistance were much quieter, happening in the back rooms and side streets of cities like Patna. Pir Ali Khan was a local bookseller. He used his business as a discreet hub to circulate revolutionary messages and coordinate with other activists during the 1857 revolt. When the British captured him, they subjected him to torture to extract the names of his fellow revolutionaries. They knew his silence was the only thing protecting the rest of the cell. Khan never gave them a single name. He was executed, taking that intelligence to his grave. In an underground movement, information is the most vulnerable point. By staying silent under pressure, individuals like Khan ensured that the wider network could continue to operate. Facing the British meant facing a professional, well-equipped military force. To challenge this structure, resistance groups had to change the rules of engagement. After the 1857 revolt was largely quelled, Tantia Tope used surprise attacks and mobile tactics to keep British forces engaged in the field for nearly 2 years. In the forests of Andhra Pradesh, Alluri Sitarama Raju organized tribal communities who fought with traditional weapons like these. Despite their lack of modern firearms, they used their knowledge of the terrain to raid police stations, seizing the very weapons the British were using to occupy the region. In the Northeast, a 13-year-old girl named Rani Gaidinlu led an armed uprising against British policies, causing enough disruption that she was eventually sentenced to life in prison. These decentralized, guerrilla-style conflicts forced the British to divert significant manpower and resources to areas they couldn't easily control. This image captures the power dynamic of the colonial era. Indian citizens subjected to the scrutiny of a foreign official. This was the hierarchy that ordinary people across the country spent decades challenging through constant acts of defiance. It was a movement sustained by teenagers, elderly grandmothers, local merchants, and tribal warriors. Because these people weren't political leaders or authors of treaties, their names are rarely found in standard historical archives. Their stories often faded as the focus shifted to a few famous figures. Our understanding of India's independence is incomplete if we only remember the famous. We have a responsibility to look into the shadows and recognize the people who actually stood on the front lines.